Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the strife-torn Ukrainian capital Kiev. I'm Gaurav Sawant. The Russian President Vladimir Putin has signaled de-escalation intentions with Ukraine. Now, as this war enters its second month, the question is, will President Putin walk the talk? He relies very heavily on a core team. This lean, mean machine of men and women advise him, and he is said to be taking only their word on the road ahead. It's very difficult to decipher what goes through his mind, but over the course of the next half hour, we will attempt to decode what's the thinking in Kremlin and the men and women who advise President Putin. In the past 35 days and counting, there has been much speculation about President Putin's larger game plan. Is it restricted just to the Donbass region? Is it regime change here in Ukraine and demilitarizing this country? Or is there a wider game plan and Ukraine is just a small part of it? There has been intense speculation of what the president intends to do, especially before the operation started on the 24th of February. But some analysts argue that Ukraine is part of a wider game plan. The president's game plan is not restricted just to the Donbass region or just demilitarizing Ukraine. Perhaps his wider game plan is bringing back the glory of Tsarist Russia and Soviet Union.
On June 30th, 2020, a 7-day national plebiscite ended in Russia. The Russian public were voting their intentions on 205 amendments to the Constitution of 1993. And the yes-no vote was a package deal. The voters either approved or rejected all the amendments. And the amendments concerned marriage laws, pension guarantees, a variety of other social benefits. But hidden amongst them was that all-important clause that mattered to only one man. That clause was the one that extended Vladimir Putin's presidency till 2036, when he would be 84 years old. Vladimir Putin, essentially president for life of Russia, has often stated that he wants to restore Russia to its former glory. And to do that, he has systematically gone about increasing Russian influence in not just Eastern Europe, but across the world, in Africa and in Asia. Putin's Russia played a major role in the Syrian civil war, where brute force was brought to bear on those against President Bashar al-Assad, effectively propping up the Syrian leader to continue in power. Like Assad, Vladimir Putin has been building a network of friends and vassals across the globe. Strong men who flout the very tenets of democracy that once brought them to power. Next door to Russia, Putin helped Alexander Lukashenko retain control of Belarus after the rigged election of 2021. Russian police advisors and tactics were involved in the crackdown of the widespread protests that overtook the country. Russian methods were used by Lukashenko to brutally subdue dissent. Months later, the Russian forces massed on the Belarusian border drove into Ukraine from the north. In countries around the world, Putin has been seen to help undermine constitutional democratic rules to build up strong leaders in his mold. His so-called friends and allies range from hardline leaders like Viktor Orban of Hungary to Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil. From Turkey under Recep Tayyip Erdogan to at one time even the United States under Donald Trump. Even as Russian bombardment created havoc in eastern Ukraine, the other president for life and Putin's new friend, strongman of China, Xi Jinping, has not condemned nor criticized either Vladimir Putin or his action in Ukraine. Russia watchers say Ukraine bothered Putin because it was a bastion of increasing Western liberalism, alien in a region Moscow always considered its own area of influence, Eastern Europe. What probably bothered Putin the most in Ukraine was not the eastward expansion of NATO, which would only have been a military matter, but the spread of concepts like free speech and free choice. Dangerous ideas that pose a bigger threat for someone who has installed himself as president for life. Behind President Putin's desk in the Kremlin, there is a portrait of Tsar Peter the Great, the longest-serving Russian leader ever. But if and when Putin officially retires in 2036, at the age of 84, he would have taken over the title from Tsar Peter. Because that is what Putin possibly finally wants, to go down in history as Putin the Great.
Now, President Putin's core team in Kremlin is also split into various groups. There are, of course, those who amplify his words not just to the West, but to the entire world. And the president relies heavily, we are told, on this core team. So be it the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov or the spokesperson of Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov, they very effectively, according to Kremlin, counter the propaganda that comes from the West and give Russia's side of the story when it comes to not just these special operations here in Ukraine, but also the entire military and diplomatic perspective of Russia's plans.
Losing war assets in Ukraine, bled by Western sanctions, fast turning a global pariah, and facing domestic fury. Russian President Putin is banking heavily on a handful of trusted aides who do the Russian president's hatchet jobs with chilling precision. Meet Putin's nuclear lieutenants. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who regularly ramp up the impact of Russian assault in the West. Dmitry is a press secretary to the Russian president and the main protagonist keeping the nuclear pot boiling in the global media space, belting out chilling threat of using nukes if there is existential threat to Russia. Peskov himself took a massive hit after the invasion as EU, US, Australia and UK froze his assets.
When there is a threat for existence of the state in our country, we can use, and we will actually use, nuclear weapons to eliminate the threat for the existence of our country.
Those laboratories are created.
Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has seen a running diplomatic war with the West over invasion. At Putin's service since 2004, Lavrov has been accused of lying on Russian war to hide alleged war atrocities, railing against the West over its sanctions and even threatening NATO with direct war.
Our Polish colleagues claimed ahead of the upcoming NATO summit that the peacekeepers must be sent there. I hope they understand what are they talking about. It will lead to the direct clash between the Russian and NATO armed forces that everyone has not only tried to avoid, but said should not take place in principle.
Ukraine is probably...
Apart from sanctions on Lavrov himself, the West has also targeted his stepdaughter, Polina Kovaleva. Polina, who has a multi-million-dollar property in Kensington in West London, has been sanctioned. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, some in the West have argued that President Putin is an autocrat and that he does not take any advice. But India Today has reason to believe that the president has a very loyal band of advisors, both military, civil, diplomatic, and he does, as a former spy master, take multiple inputs from every quarter and then arrives at a decision. And once he arrives at a decision, the army is tasked to execute his orders with clinical precision. We now get you more on the president's core team.
Russian President Vladimir Putin projects an image of a supreme leader, calling all the shots, unaffected by opinions. A one-man army. But that might be far from true. Putin has a loyal and committed inner circle comprising security and military advisors. Here's a look at Putin's closest associates who rose through the ranks of Russia's security services. Nikolai Patrushev is the head of Russia's Security Council. He's one of the 3 loyalists who've been with Putin since the 1970s. Patrushev was the head of the Federal Security Service from 1999 to 2008. Sergei Lavrov has been Russia's foreign minister for the last 18 years and is Russia's senior-most diplomat. He's been Moscow's voice on the global stage. Recently, Lavrov tried to defend Russia's invasion of Ukraine at the UN Human Rights Council, while most other members walked out. Vladimir Medinsky is Russia's former culture minister and is currently Putin's aide. He's acting as the primary negotiator in the ongoing Ukrainian war. Yuri Kovalchuk, a Russian oligarch, is Putin's close confidant. The oligarchs have often been accused of routing Putin's money to the West through investments in real estate and more. Alexander Botnikov succeeded Nikolai Patrushev as the director of Russia's all-powerful Federal Security Service. Botnikov is believed to be responsible for the number of detentions and restrictions imposed on civil society last year. Sergei Naryshkin has been the director of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service since 2016. Naryshkin is believed to be Putin's close confidant all through his career. Anton Venu is Putin's chief of staff, who's set to play an active role in decision-making in the ongoing conflict. He's been sanctioned by the European Union, among many others. Sergei Shoigu is Russian defense minister since 2012. It's said he accompanies Putin on hunting and fishing trips to Siberia. In the past, he was seen as a potential successor to Putin. Valery Gerasimov is the chief of staff of the Russian armed forces since 2012. He's played a major role in Putin's military campaigns and was spotted overseeing military drills in Belarus recently. Some say Gerasimov, who's viewed as an experienced military strategist, could have fallen out of favor after a slow start to the Ukraine invasion. These are Russian President Vladimir Putin's most trusted people. But how much does the Russian president actually listen to them? That's another question no one has answers to. Bureau Report, India Today.
This war is being fought at multiple levels. It's being fought on ground, in the air, at sea, in cyberspace and in digital space. And this is a war which is actually being fought for every inch of territory and to control the narrative, to control the mind space. While internet and social media are flooded with videos from Ukraine, we now introduce you to those 4 women who are trying to give the Russian side of the story, the Russian perspective of this conflict. Meet the 4 women who are leading the war in cyberspace.
The war in Ukraine is not being fought on the borders only. There is another war raging in the info space. While Ukraine has been successful in seeking and getting global sympathy, Russia's focus is on garnering domestic support for the war. Over 59% Russians support the invasion of Ukraine, according to surveys by various agencies in Russia. Proof that Vladimir Putin is winning the info war in his country. Russia's propaganda machinery is led by 4 women. Leading the charge is Maria Zakharova, the Director Information and Press Department at the Russian Foreign Ministry. Maria has helped sell the idea at home that the West has launched an information war against Russia. She has also accused the West of information terrorism. Next on the list of propaganda crusaders is Editor-in-Chief of Russia Today, Margarita Simonyan. Margarita is sanctioned by the European Union for promoting a positive attitude to the annexation of Crimea and the actions of Ukrainian separatists. Another key Russian figure in the info war is Maria Butina. In 2018, Butina was accused in the US of being a Russian spy. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison. 9 months later, she was extradited to Russia. Butina was elected as a member of the Duma, the lower house of Russia's Federal Assembly. The last on the list is Valentina Matviyenko, a Russian senator and the Speaker of the Upper House. Born in western Ukraine, Matvienko has justified Russia's actions, saying that the invasion is the only way to end this brotherly war. While the West has imposed various sanctions to curb the spread of Russian propaganda, but the truth is, Russia doesn't have to sell the war globally to keep it going. It just has to sell it to its citizens. Right now, Russians seems to be buying Vladimir Putin's war. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, a key ally of the Russian president in this war on Ukraine is Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov. Now, this name strikes fear in various battlefields. And why? Ramzan Kadyrov was in Mariupol. Seen the death and destruction caused in the street battles in Mariupol. Of course, there were a series of missile and rocket strikes and tank battles, but there were also pitched battles for control of every street. And that is where Ramzan Kadyrov and the Chechen fighters have played a key role. So who is Ramzan Kadyrov? Why are human rights activists up in arms just at the mention of his name? Our next report tells us more.
Ramzan Kadyrov, the man who rules Chechnya with an iron fist. Handpicked by Vladimir Putin for the top job. Someone who wrestles crocodiles with bare hands. Known as Putin's attack dog, Kadyrov has landed in the near-fallen city of Mariupol, where the dreaded Chechen fighters continue their deadly assault. The Chechen warlord is likely to finalize the strategy for his fighters in Mariupol. Kadyrov portrays a macho image of himself, frequently posing with guns and military garb. He has never shied away from flaunting his opulent wealth. A known tyrant who stops at nothing. The Chechen president has been accused of a wide array of human rights violations under his rule. Kadyrov has been accused of ordering torture and extrajudicial killings, along with a string of assassinations of Russian journalists and human rights activists. A number of his Chechen critics who sought asylum abroad were attacked or killed even on foreign soil. Kadyrov imposes regression through violence in Chechnya, where he ordered women to be shot at with paintballs for not observing the Islamic dress code, even urging men to block their wives from using WhatsApp. The Chechen leader also backs polygamy and in the past has ordered purges against homosexuals, going on to claim there is no homosexual person in Chechnya. Ramzan Kadyrov is one of Kremlin's deadliest weapons, and Putin has now decided to unleash Kadyrov on Ukraine. Bureau Report, India Today.
With air raid sirens, missile and rocket strikes, tension is only expected to spike in the days and weeks ahead here in Kiev. But that is all we have time for on this special broadcast. With cameraman Lalit Joshi, Gaurav Sawant in Kiev, Ukraine for India Today.